ова емисија на KOD како гостин за интервју го имаме господинот Дрин Ахмети. Ќе зборуваме на англиски, бидејќи таков беше изборот на гостинот. Mr. Drin Ahmeti, we are now on the 11th floor of Soravia.
Yes.
Who is owner of Soravia?
So, as of now, the title still belongs to Mr. Soravia. However, we have a transaction, a lot of payments were made, an agreement was signed. We have management over the building since August, I believe, 31st of August 2023. We manage the building. And in the coming few weeks, we are also going to change the title to an investment fund, which has a lot of investors, including me, and all the documents and all the necessary facts of how this transaction came to be will be revealed to the whole public, and that will be my request. As of now, the institutions, the 5 institutions we invited on 4th of July to conduct an investigation on the deal, a few days after my press conference when I said that we have signed an agreement for the purchase of Soravia Invest, which is the company that owns the building, and the institutions for 18 months haven't provided any question. We haven't responded to the press, to the news about the transaction, because we did not want to interfere with the investigation. We gave all of the documents that we had, even the trade secrets, the commercial agreements, everything we had in our possession, we gave to the institutions in order to clear our name that if we did something wrong, please tell us what's wrong, what's the fine, or if we didn't do anything wrong, go and tell the public that no crime was committed.
You are saying that transaction before the end of
So, I will explain to you in detail now. So, we had an agreement, a gentleman agreement in Vienna for the purchase of this building, 90% of the shares of this building, and this is proven and the institutions have it and you will see it afterwards, in January 2023. We had an agreement to purchase it. The initial agreement to purchase the building was undertaking the liabilities or obligations of the building or the debt of the building towards the bank, towards other debtors, suppliers, and overtaking the liabilities that Mr. Soravia had inputted for the company's survival. Now, you have reported in the news many times that the company was profitable according to the balance sheet. That is not true. What has happened is that the building appreciation in the books was overvalued in order the building not to lose the loan and to show to the bank that we have profit from appreciation. The cash flow of the building had losses from 1 million to 1.5 million for the last 3 years before we decided to purchase. And we saw that the building was operating at a loss and Mr. Soravia was exiting Eastern Europe, where he was a major investor initially. And because of that relationship that we developed with Mr. Soravia, we did also other projects together in Austria and in Albania, which I'm going to reveal today that we have nothing to hide and nobody was damaged from this transaction. So, to go forward, in May 26th, we signed the share purchase agreement. In the share purchase agreement, I involved my partner, Pevlaku, who is one of the largest shareholders of Bank Albania, and a very reputable business working there since 2005, but not only in Albania, also in Kosovo, Croatia, Italy, and I believe in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I don't know if he has operations for now in other countries, but in these countries he's operating for more than 17 years. And I proposed the plan to him, And I said, I think that this is a great deal, the value is cheap, and we had a commercial agreement that if you provide me financing to purchase the stake of the building, if I repay you within certain time frame, I will own X percent. If I don't, you will own X percent.
He's still in business?
Yes, yes, he's still in business. And we had this agreement with him. We shook hands. He provided the 6 million credit line, not for the building, for us to purchase the shares of the building. You have to separate the two because they're completely two different things. And we paid from this amount 3 million euros. As you saw yesterday, the SWIFT, that in one of the reports was mentioned, no money from Albania went. No, that's not true. There was a payment from Albania to Austria because that was the payment supposed to be for the shares of the company. And that was the commercial agreement between us. Then we tried to refinance locally, but because of the press, because of the news, because of the political attacks, because of the pressure, it was impossible for us to refinance locally at the time. So I knew this was a great deal because business-wise I do my own calculations, I think rather well. And I asked Mr. Drin Ahmeti, which me and him and Hanno were being involved in another project together, had plans to be involved in south of Albania on a coast project. And I said, look, I'll give you this project, but you have to help me out in this one. And we had again a commercial deal in which I said to him, look, I will give all of it to you on paper to pay, and when I pay you back, we return it. Because I said, I cannot refinance it locally. I cannot survive because the banks don't want to touch us anymore. They think, no, that's not, no. So the amount was, the whole amount that he invested in the region to do business with us was 12.3 million euros, or $13.3 million at the time, because he paid in dollars. The conversion rate was 12.3.
In Macedonia especially?
No. So bigger portion of this amount went in Austria, $5.3 million, if I'm correct. A due diligence was done for all the money. I showed you yesterday the papers. You portrait Mr. Drin Ahmeti with something that I don't know and I'm not aware of. How I know Mr. Drin Ahmeti? He was one of the early investors from 1996, proven with documentation from Fidelity in Amazon and NVIDIA. So he was a client for more than 25 years of Fidelity, third largest asset manager in America.
We found the information about Mr. Drin Ahmeti from news, American, from Albanian news.
Let me just interrupt you
And
for a second there.
Probably you should see that kind of information. That's my point.
Let me explain something. When we provided the documents to the authorities, we provided everything. We said, here is the source of money coming. He sold two larger holdings that he had in Amazon and NVIDIA, funded the account. We had a commercial agreement, and I said, in this commercial agreement, you take everything of what I own, 100%. If I pay you back within this time frame, or the value of business, or I refinance, we make a joint agreement, how much are going to be your shares, where is going to be your involvement, where is going to be mine, because we're in business together. And he's the kind of person that with one handshake, he wired the funds. And I said, no, we need first to, you're going to create us problems. He said, why? Because in America, a 12.3 million is nothing. It's like a very small, minor transaction for him. Yes. And I was, no, wait, because we have to explain, hold on. So we drafted all the agreements, all the legal insights. We finished the transaction. We gave to the institutions. We said, this is the proof of funds. This was paid. This was done.
Well, you're saying me now that we found out a lot of things on the internet about Mr. Drin Ahmeti, that
Correct.
he's from, his roots is from Macedonia, from recent, from
Absolutely,
Bosnia.
yes.
He's Albanian patriot. He's the director
I can
American
say
Albanian Diaspora Business, some business association.
I'm not aware.
And he's founder and owner on a couple striptease bars in Dallas, Texas. That was on internet. It's
I don't know his interest in any of those bars. I don't know. I'm aware of the documents that I see. There is rumor about he owns this, he owns that. There's a lot of rumors. If you start believing and chasing after rumors, it's a dead end. I'm telling, when I asked, I said, okay, how are you going to fund the transaction? He said, I'm going to fund the transaction through this income. He provided. I'm not an investigator. If he did something illegal, he would be in prison because it's America. The second thing is, we had another deal with Mr. Drin Ahmeti, a confidential one still, that he was required to provide a background check from the Federal Bureau of Investigations. And he, for that transaction, separate from Soravia, separate from everything, but in the same time window, even a little earlier, he provided a full FBI background check. And the institutions in Macedonia have that background check. And it shows that he has never in his life been involved in any illicit activities.
Yes, but they're still waiting official information from U.S.
to touch
law
that.
enforcement
So
agency.
I got the information that the prosecution asked authorities to have some documents. To answer that, we have a law firm which represents us, Pillsbury Law, one of the largest in the world, headquartered in Washington, D.C. The office that manages us as a client is from London, and where we also have an office as a company. And they told me that the authorities in the United States very rarely and in very rare cases provide information to other countries because they conduct their own investigation. And in this deal, I don't see why there should be such a long period of time when you have one of the largest, if not the largest now, NVIDIA, publicly traded company, owning shares from 1996 or 1997 all the way to 2023, selling part of these shares, funding the account, and saying, I have a deal to invest in North Macedonia and in the Balkans. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think the country wants to attract foreign investors. People go for a 2 or 3 million investment, even in investments that didn't happen. The whole government goes to cut tapes and promote and say people are coming to invest. And in this case, someone really invests in the country, and we're trying to invest more in the country by providing trust that Macedonia has changed, and it's not the North Macedonia of 30 years ago. It's a different country now with different vibes where people don't care anymore about the infighting and the problems of the 20th century. To move in the 21st century, you have to leave the problems of the 20th century, of the 19th century behind. And I portrayed that everywhere I went to attract investment in this country.
When you said cutting the tapes and opening investment, your uncle, Mr. Ali Ahmeti, he's the leader of BDI, DUI, the party. He and his party members also was part of that kind of situation, manifestation, when somebody cutting tapes.
Yeah.
That's the reason of suspicion in Macedonian society, in our country, that your business is coming from his political influence which he earned during 2 decades in politics.
Okay, let me explain.
Because you're living almost in the same house.
Let me explain something. Let me make something very, very clear. I understand that probably I got an advantage to be able to speak with him, share thoughts with him, growing up as a kid. And I'm not saying that that did not shape me. His thinking, his honesty, his truthfulness, and everything that he promotes in life, on how someone has to be modest, down to earth, pragmatic, and open.
From the position of power. Now
Well,
he's in position of opposition,
well,
and he's like,
But
it's
he's
not
been,
the same.
I remember him when he's been in opposition, 2006, as a kid. I remember when DPA at the time came in the school, in Zas, was public school, when I was teaching, and they came with masked people and with guns. I remember when they were coming to our house like that. It's not...
During opposition time?
Yes, and times have changed. And now everything evolves. I'm saying the infighting of the past, the quarrels of the past, what happened in 2001 and before, it's not good for anyone to continue to live on the 21st century.
But, okay, if we are going on some philosophical stance of your point of view.
Okay.
The biggest question is political influence, possible political influence. The second one,
Zero.
okay, how...
Okay, let me explain.
On how young men like you
okay, I'll get to that.
had that kind of connection and that amount of money to buy very big building in the downtown of Skopje.
Let me answer you. The first one is that I never ever, from the day that I started and took over of Everest in 2017 from my brother, for 7 years now, almost 8 years, in February it's 8 years, I have never consulted or talked to my uncle about business, ever. And if one help of him or one call of who he called to help me, please let them address to say this happened. First. Second, Mr. Soravia never met my uncle, never knew my uncle. Third, Nick knew of my uncle. He had been only in one event, maybe in 2004 or 5, where there were 50 people from the diaspora and once seen my uncle. Never knew my uncle, never had his phone or anything. Vladimir never knew my uncle, never met my uncle. So all 3 people that are connected with me in business never met him, never had a working relationship with him, and most importantly, never had any other interest in Macedonia.
And why they are choosing you?
Well,
that's the question.
Well, that's why I brought Mr. Soravia in the conference when I had it, when we announced. That's why I brought Vladimir in the conference to announce. And I would have done the same with Mr. Nick, but the investigation was ongoing and you were accusing the guy of many things. And
he escaped from the project?
No, he's not escaped. He's in. We are, look, you have to understand, we are not only in Soravia together. We have a lot of projects that we work together because we believe in one idea that an economy like Macedonia, which has a GDP per capita of $7,000–8,000 a year, has to reach the levels of at least Bulgaria, Poland, Czech Republic when it enters EU in 5, 6, 10 years, whenever that time will be, because there's no other end game for Macedonia. Now, in these numbers, there's growth, because we're not developed as a country. That's why you call them emerging economies or developing countries.
Okay, what is your position? I cannot understand. Okay, you are not. You are refusing impact of political influence of
Absolutely.
and you are 25. You are not
26.
You are 26, okay, 26, and you are not son of a rich parents. That's the suspicion.
That's not, no. First and foremost, I had an inheritance. A company which had assets which were not utilized correctly. 2017. I started on assets which were transferred to me by my brother.
That's Everest.
Yes. So he ran the company for 9 years. 6 of these years were profitably, the last 3 years were not. But the company had a lot of assets. The company I inherited in 2017. So I have some inheritance. Nothing near what it is right now.
Okay, numbers of Everest is for 2023.
Okay.
Revenues, it's about 29 million dinars.
Okay.
It's about
500,000 euros,
yes.
under 500, correct.
The building
yes.
is not.
No, absolutely. But go back. But sorry, go back to 2004. And this building has a revenue of 3 million euros.
I will say you now. How
Yes, this building has a revenue of between 2.5 and 3 million over, depending which year.
140 millions
Yes.
dinars. It's
So-
less than 2.5 million euros in
Yes.
2023.
Yes.
But losing was almost 1 million. Yet, and
Let me explain you what you're looking at.
And also,
No,
we
no.
have now two red lines. You see that?
Yes,
It's with
the accounts are locked.
accounts in locked, and you owe to
PRO, Public Revenues
Public
Office.
Revenue Office,
Correct.
yes.
That's correct.
and also in that period, Soravia Invest changing owner. Now is owner. That was in December.
It was transferred,
24.
not changed.
Okay, that was now is
Reiter Gut
Reiter Gut agency, yes, from Austria. There's this, and company is also connected with Hanna Soravia.
Yes.
That's a very legitimate question. Why is going on?
Yes, so let me explain. Because the transaction was made so difficult for all the parties involved to return the building to operate normally. First, the media pressure. Second, the political attacks. Third, the investigation. So there were 3 problems that we had. And in these problems, we needed to find a solution. So the solution was to get to alternative financing, because no one from the conventional financial institutions in the country that would finance such deals would touch us, would even speak to us. So we created a structure, a new fund. We funded this from private investors. And if you want to go one step ahead, I will tell you, the company will be a newly publicly trading company in the New York Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange in the next month.
Which company?
The whole company of what I own, 100% of everything I own, will be publicly listed companies in 2 of the largest stock exchanges in the world. One is the oldest, the London Stock Exchange, and the other one is the biggest, New York Stock Exchange. And everything will be, again, transparent and public and open.
Yeah, but you cannot say that you, as a nephew of Mr. Ahmeti, you know his impact in society in Macedonia. You are saying that you didn't expect that, okay, young nephew.
No, absolutely not. Because why I didn't expect? Because this had nothing to do with
this
him.
level of corruption,
With
and political influence in economy in Macedonia, and in all life.
Look, if
You have to be honest.
I can answer for myself.
I'm honest.
Hold on, let me get to that point. I can answer for myself. If I did something wrong, you think the institutions for 18 months wouldn't have found anything? 18 months, they're quiet. In the meantime, I'm operating businesses in US and UK in information technology, where I work, where my primary field of operations is. Now, I know that there is corruption. And that's why these are called third world countries. This is the reason why we're not part of EU. But part of corruption is also what the institutions did to me. Because you have the documents, you're not telling what I did wrong. If I did something wrong, the public has a right to know. Your money, my tax money, where you can see how much taxes we have paid so far, is funding that prosecution. And for any wrongdoing, we need to pay a price. Depending on the scale of what we did, and if we did something wrong. Nobody came to say you did this wrong. Nobody, I don't even understand the accusation. I really don't understand the accusation for Soravia. It's a private property which was purchased. A deal was signed to be purchased. It's not closed yet as of now. We're hoping to close in the next coming weeks. But a transaction was done private. Who was damaged here? Who was the damaged party?
A transaction is going around Macedonia, not in Macedonia.
Yes, yeah, correct.
And,
because I'm telling you
why.
why.
Taxes are not paid here, but they are paid in
no,
Austria.
that's not true. That's not true. So first, no, that's not true. First and foremost,
what is not true? That they are going around,
no,
or that we don't have taxes as a country?
The company is not paying taxes for financing. No company pays tax for financing. What we received from abroad is financing, which in Macedonia is considered an investment. And we are growing the economy of this country by the money we're infusing from abroad, because we're not taking money away from here out. We're bringing money from out there here. And please let me explain. The payment of the share price that happened directly from Albania to Austria and from United States to Austria, that has nothing to do with the building. That has to do with the equity, with the capital that one day, 10 or 15 years ago, Mr. Hanno Soravia invested in the country, and it's his right to take this money back. And he has paid taxes here for years, and he's continuing to pay taxes here still. So that point doesn't stand. And I asked the institutions, and I publicly ask everyone to say what we did wrong. Say from this transaction, from all the documents you have, which law was broken. Because we had 4 legal teams working on the transaction. From UK, from United States, from Austria, and from North Macedonia.
Okay. Do you feel some changes when we have a new government now, new people in that law enforcement agency? Maybe pressure, maybe contacts. Do you have contacts?
To be honest with you, we have had all the investigation and the most pressure and all the fines and the reason why we have blocked accounts, and were decisions of the last government, from what my information is in the company. So from the new government, we have had even a goodwill, because the previous one would not restructure our debt to the PRO to unlock accounts so we could operate normally. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or no, but we have reached a good solution with the current Public Revenues Office when they have seen that we're in trouble with this, and this is not our doing, and we did nothing wrong, and that we're trying to help solve the solution of a tax liability which was undertaken and not foreseen in the balance sheet, that the tax authority found through the audit, and we had done international audit before we purchased, and that tax liability was not there. And the current tax authority said to us, sure, we're going to help you to restructure this debt and to unlock your accounts.
But they still red flagged you?
They
put red flag on...
Yeah, because it's still locked. The account was locked in July, and it's been continuing to be locked.
In July, do you have some transaction? Because according to my information, you had to pay second rate from the deal about Soravia until end of July.
Hanno Soravia, because we changed the agreement, and he was paid earlier He was paid earlier.
From you? Or?
No, he was paid from Texas American International Holdings. He was paid for his remaining equity, and he sold his 10% stake. So he exited the country completely. He remains our partner in Albania, where we are developing a project together with him, and Texas American International Holdings, which is under the ownership of Mr. Drin Ahmeti. And we are making a fusion of all the projects that we have in this structure, and we're going to list them publicly in a stock exchange.
Okay. Who, again, the question from the beginning, who is owner of Soravia Invest? Which
You
is
mean-
parties?
Okay, is the question...
Is this building?
Are you asking...
It's some
okay.
fund?
No, so we still haven't closed the transaction.
With Mr. Soravia?
Yes, we still...
But he's out.
He's
actually.
out. From this project, he's out.
Now you are taking
Yes.
the last procedures from
The last
deals.
procedures.
Okay.
Once we finish the last procedures with him, he will continue to be our partner in the structure, in the fund, that is going to be publicly traded company, and there you can see who will own how many shares, why, and then we can have another show about that if there's explanation needed. But for now we're working on that, and once that's finished, once that's concluded, everything will be public. As of now, we are operating the building, that's true.
Do you have maybe some fear because of this interview? Maybe it will change something.
Sorry?
Maybe something will change after the interview. Maybe state authorities or law enforcement agency go on you
First,
after the
I'm
interview.
hoping that the public understands that nothing wrong was done. Because if something wrong was done, there would be a fine, there would be an action, there would be something. No matter how big or small the fine is, or the or the conviction of what we did. If there was something wrong, we should have known by now. And this is not only Drin Ahmeti's deal. This is the deal that 4 different law firms with reputational law firms in all countries, all these 4 countries, took part of and signed. And all of these people that were involved in the transaction signed on this transaction. And all of those documents went to the institutions. So if the institutions say, okay, this is a wrongdoing, they have to say, what is that? And not use the case for Jan Bremer, like us versus them type of politics, using populism to attack someone just because they're the nephew of someone. If there's a link to my uncle in all of this, say this is the link. He knew this guy and he brought that guy and he has an interest here. No, that's not the case. Very simply, say which of these 3 people that are in business with me benefited something from my uncle's power, let's say. Which one of them say this, he benefited here, this. But now to say that I got education from my uncle as a kid, I think that's not a sin.
I will jump on the, because I saw a couple things on your Facebook profile. It's that you have during the election period, you posted, you reposted one post from Mr. Artan Grubi. Now he's a fugitive. So you have connection with him?
No.
You were close with him?
No. So Mr. Grubi and I have met maybe in my life. I have met him maybe 3 or 4 times in public settings. Yeah, 3 or 4 times maybe in public settings. I know him. I know of him from way back. I have been in communication with him in my Facebook account maybe 2015, and he had some innovative ideas for DUI connections with international politics. And that's how I know him. The last 4 years that he was in position, I told you in public settings, maybe 3 or 4 times I've met him. I can't recall meeting him before because he was more of a like workaholic, working for the party at the time as chief of staff of my uncle. I was trying with him back in the day to organize, when I was 17 or 18 years old, with Oxford Union, something for my uncle, so I've had some communication then. I asked him for a personal favor once to write me a reference letter for a university in the United States where I was applying. He didn't do it. So that's sort of my relation with him. As for the post, I've never hid it, even though I don't agree with everything from DUI. I always have supported them in every election as a voter, as a member of the party. And as I see it, that's the only real party that really wanted to move processes for integration of Macedonia, North Macedonia now in NATO and in EU, which that's the geopolitical alignment I believe this, because for us, the sunrise is in the west, it's not in the east. That's what I believe in, and that's why I've supported that. What about where he is now or what he's done, I don't know. That's for the institutions to say. As for the blacklist of United States, they extremely rarely make mistakes. So very, very rare cases they've put someone and removed from there, and usually they do their due diligence thoroughly when they take such action, and I don't know what has happened there. I don't have the knowledge to comment on that, but I don't know. For me, if you're blacklisted by the US, something is wrong.
Do you have some fear or some feelings that maybe you could finish on blacklist of United States?
Well, I think not, because he also worked with very close with American diplomats and I don't
American
work with
companies.
American diplomats. I've been in Congress, I've been in Senate, and I have connections there with people who have tried to move processes forward in terms of investment from there to North Macedonia and the region. The other thing is I'm a resident there, so I don't know if they have any rule for residents to be put on blacklist, because I think they check before, and my residency was given to me officially on 22nd of October.
This year?
Yes, so the change of my status there. So that's after a lot of things happened, a lot of media pressure, a lot of investigation. So I think the Americans, they rarely make mistakes. And the only reason why I say rarely make mistakes, because in myself, I don't believe they ever make mistakes, but they're human too, so I'll say it like that.
Okay, it's very optimistic from you. Okay, about other cases which were under investigation here in Macedonia, fireworks case, concession, it's from the new government, also from the new government, FTR Innovation Fund, which is going on.
To answer all of them from what I know, because the public prosecution here informs more the media than us. So
okay,
I will say
that's not true, but okay, that's your opinion. Okay,
that's my opinion, but I'm telling you, I found out about the invitation that I had on 18th of November in the prosecution's office on the media. I saw it and I'm like, okay. So it was an invitation to go there, and that's why I came from United States, especially for the purpose to answer an official institution, which I respect a lot, and to answer whatever suspicion they have for what I've done. This was the case for the concession. And I explained to them, I provided them the payments, I provided them the interest payments for the late delay, and I also told them why there was a delay. The technical reasons why there's a delay, which I explained to you privately, why happened. Do not take more time to go in those details, but we gave, and it's an ongoing investigation, and they will check, and I'm sure that we did nothing wrong. Especially even if there is something wrong and we didn't pay the fines enough, it's not a criminal case. It should be civil at most. But we have paid, and we have provided all the relevant proof that we have paid, and that's it.
With the fireworks was?
With the fireworks, I was notified by the extremely professional and good police people in the central station that now the case goes to the court, and the maximum fine I can receive is 200 euros or something like that, or it's up to the judge to decide whether it's 200, 100 or nothing. So that's the
decision. But you had a problem during the action of police?
I will not comment on a police, special forces. Everybody in the country, I think, knows that what happened that night has never happened before in 30 years of this country, that someone to be arrested in such manner like that, I don't think it has ever happened. And I will not comment on that.
Oh, which manner?
I will not make a comment on that.
Mm-hmm. And the fitter fund of investigation to your fields,
so
to your companies?
Yes. So in the fund of innovation, we have applied from the procedure. The staff here has applied, has prepared the documentation. We never withheld anything. We know that the decision-making body, it's a foreign board that sees the project and says, we will invest in this company and we will not invest in that company. And also the money from this grant is returnable. So you return the money if the project is successful. So we applied maybe 10 times. And the staff here can know exactly how many times, but I think 10 or more. And out of these 10 times, 2 times we were awarded. And in these 2 awards, in both of them, we were awarded to buy equipment which is here in the premises right now. And after some things happened, I don't know what, they also locked us account and took the money back. And we didn't react. We said, okay, and that's the case. I don't know whether they've reasoned anything else, but that's the everything. And probably the people who saw the documents when we applied, they knew my name. We never hid anything. I didn't apply with your name, or I applied. We filled the criteria. They could have said no, like they said for the 8 other projects. They said, these 2 are good. We said, okay. We signed an agreement with them. And now they locked the account. They said, no, we want to take the money back. I said, okay. We have nothing, no power to do anything.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.